What is up, Packer fans? Back again. Here we are. It is week 8. The Packers are heading down to Pittsburgh to face off against the veteran, the old Packer, Aaron Rodgers. The 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers playing pretty good this year. They haven't played a lot of great teams. They struggled in games they probably shouldn't have, and then they beat the teams they should. So they're 4-2, sitting on top of the AFC North, and the Packers sitting atop of the NFC North for this week. They're 4-1-1. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost, so of course they jumped up to the number 1 seed. That tie, which I didn't do the calculations earlier in the season, but a 5-2 is worse than a 4-1-1. I thought the extra win would make it better, but it's not. So that tie could really come in handy for the Packers later in the season. They are the number 1 seed right now because they've only got 1 loss. They've got 4 wins. So heading down to Pittsburgh to face off against Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers faced off against each other one time in 2009. Brett Favre won that game. I think it was like 38-26, something like that. And so for Jordan Love, it's can you beat the guy that taught you everything? You know, you're the predecessor, and now you're about to face off against, Aaron Rodgers got traded 3 years ago, spent 2 years at the Jets. First year, he tore his Achilles. Second year, did not go well. This year, I don't think he got traded to the Steelers, or no, he just got signed by the Steelers. And so the Steelers paid him not that much money to come play quarterback. And for the Packers, it's can you get to Aaron Rodgers? We all know he has a quick release, but we all know he can hold on to the football a little bit long. The Packers struggled against some of the quarterbacks early in the season that were getting rid of the ball quickly. Joe Flacco just kept getting the ball out so fast. And then, of course, last week, the Packers 6 sacks against Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals. I look for the Packers kind of to get back to that this week against the Steelers. Steelers' offensive line is okay, and this Packers pass rush is relentless. So I'm excited to see how they kind of fare against this Pittsburgh offense. But for the Packers, it's going to come down to can we move the ball against that defense of the Steelers, and if Jordan Love can make plays. It's just exciting to see. Obviously, the media is making a big hype about Aaron Rodgers playing his old team, and the Packers playing against Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, for the Steelers, things are going well. This is kind of what the Jets wanted from Aaron Rodgers when they got him. They thought this is what their team would look like. Basically, is what the Steelers are doing now. But the Steelers, obviously Ravens, Lamar Jackson's injured. Bengals, Joe Burrow's injured, and the Browns are the Browns. So they traded their quarterback to the Bengals, which doesn't make sense. In the division to a team that needs a quarterback, I don't understand the Browns at all. But anyway, so for Aaron Rodgers, obviously a good division to come into, a good time to be playing quarterback for the Steelers, especially with the injuries at the other teams with their quarterbacks. So for the Packers, big test Sunday night in Pittsburgh. Can they move the ball? Can we run the ball? Obviously, the first half against the Cardinals was really, really kind of a slow. They only scored 6 points, got that 61-yard field goal at the end, and then the game kind of got picked up. Well, Florida going for it. I didn't give them props in my review video. I was super excited after I watched it. I saw it again. I was like, oh, yeah, he did go for it on a 4th and 2, and I did talk about it a little bit, but just the guts it took, the amount of courage it took to go for it at that point of the game instead of kicking the field goal and then having your defense kind of shut it down at the end. So I look for the Packers defense to keep stepping it up. Obviously, they're giving up too many big plays in the pass game, and their run defense kind of was a little suspect against Knight and the Cardinals, so I forgot who the other running back they had playing for the Cardinals was, but they both were running the ball pretty well. And I just look for the Packers defense to kind of step it up a little bit more. I know the Cardinals didn't get over 100 yards. I think the Packers and Cardinals both had 94 yards rushing on the day. So can we stop Jalen Warren and the Highsmith, Kenneth, or Gainwell, not Highsmith. Highsmith is on the defense. So Kenneth Gainwell, can we stop Gainwell at running back? So for the Packers, here we go. Packers against Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we know he played for the Packers, got drafted in 2005. He's been in the league. He'll be 42 years old in December. A guy the Packers know well, but a guy that Packers have not seen in a few years. Obviously, some things that he did in Green Bay carry over, but he is a quarterback that is 3 years removed from the Packers system and a guy that is in a whole new system right now. So for the Packers, it's going to be, can we get after him? Can we kind of give him some looks he hasn't seen, which is going to be tough? And it's going to really come down to Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, some pressure up the middle, make him hold that ball for an extra second just to let the guys get home. And that is going to be kind of the game plan. But for the Steelers, their running back, Jaylen Warren, he's pretty good. He was injured for a few games. Kenneth Gainwell came in and played really well in his absence. Kind of both pass catchers out of the backfield. They run well. The offensive line's been opening some holes for the running game, but they started out pretty hot earlier in the season and kind of cooled off since then. I look for both of them to kind of get touches throughout the game. Obviously, wide receiver for the Steelers, they got rid of George Pickens. He's in Dallas. They have DK Metcalf now from Seattle, a guy who's been playing really well with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Rodgers likes a guy that's 6'4" and can run the way Metcalf can. So it's going to be a big test for our corners. Can we cover a big guy like DK? And then they have Darnell Washington. He's a 6'7", 300-pound tight end out of Georgia. This guy is a massive. And can the Packers guard him along with the other tight ends? Because the Steelers don't have a lot of receivers outside of DK Metcalf. They do have Calvin Austin, who is questionable, and they have Roman Wilson, who Rodgers has been starting to get the ball to a little bit. Other than that, they have Scotty Miller and Ben Skowronek. And so guys that Rodgers has played with, but we'll see what kind of offense it looks like. They do a lot of 2, 3, 4 tight end sets in Pittsburgh because they do have Pat Freiermuth, a guy that was really coming into his own the last couple years, kind of slowed down here because of Rodgers' kind of style. And he does use they did bring in Jonnu Smith from the Dolphins, so they have him in Pittsburgh. So 4 tight ends along with Connor Hayward at the end there. So Darnell Washington and Connor Hayward kind of the big guys, and then Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith, kind of the pass catchers. But Darnell can catch the ball. He is a big target for sure. So having him and DK out there, definitely big targets to guard. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of Carrington Valentine. I know that people have been calling for Nate Hobbs because he just has been struggling. I feel like he was injured coming in. It's a new system coming in from a new team last year, or a different team last year. And I just want to give the guy a little bit of time. I feel like he's got playmaking ability for sure. And let's just see what he does before we bench him. Obviously, we don't want to get burned too many times and lose games because we keep waiting for him to step up and make a play. But I think that it's coming. I think he is a guy that will win over the hearts of the Packer fans. But everybody's saying so far it's the worst free agent signing Goody has had. And so we will see how that goes. He's going to have a big test this weekend with DK Metcalf. We'll see how Keyshawn Nixon fares against him, but I think we'll see a little more Valentine just because of the size of some of the receiving threats of the Steelers. And then at offensive line, they do have Broderick Jones, the big guy. I think you probably saw the video where he tackles Aaron Rodgers after the big play, and Rodgers was super mad at him. So the young kid, just not very smart. Can't tackle your 42-year-old quarterback after he tore his Achilles 2 years ago. So, but on the offensive line, they got some good pieces. Left guard is pretty good. Isaac Samuel, and then Zach Frazier at center, and then at right tackle is Troy Fatanu. So decent offensive line. Oh, Mason McCormick is the right guard. So decent offensive line for the Steelers. They do give up some sacks. There's not a lot of holes in the run game, so there is some areas here for this Packers defense to get after the offense for the Steelers. I look for Micah Parsons coming off a huge 3-sack game, his first 3-sack game as a pro in the NFL. Coming off a big game, I look for him to kind of keep building on that. Now he's got, 5.5 sacks on the season. And against Aaron Rodgers, who is a little bit mobile, but a guy that does hold on to the football and a guy that you can get to. I remember being a Packer fan, being so excited for Aaron Rodgers, and then watching him get sacked a lot more than I thought he would. He does throw it away too. So I look for the Packers to really try to get after Rodgers and make him either throw it quickly to an outlet guy or hold on to the ball a little bit longer so the guys can get home. Rashawn Gary coming off another sack game with the forced fumble. He had been kind of cold for the last 2 games and then got the sack forced fumble in a really big moment that led to a touchdown drive. Really big spot for the Packers defense and Gary in that moment. I think he's up to 5.5 sacks as well now. So for this Packers defense, 2 guys coming off the edge that can really disrupt the game. And then maybe getting Lucas Van Ness back. I don't think so. He is day-to-day. We will see what happens with him. Brenton Cox, another guy I'm hoping to get back sooner than later. Haven't heard a lot on him. But then coming off the edge, Kingsley and Egbari, doing his thing. And then Quay Walker in the middle, like when they rush him on blitzes, he just is a wrecking ball, just coming through, trying to knock everybody's head off. And then Edgerrin Cooper playing a little bit better, a little bit cleaner game. I still just, the way he was flying around in those first couple games, I just haven't seen that out of him. Maybe he's trying to slow things down so he doesn't overplay things and miss tackles like he was, but I just miss kind of seeing him fly around the way he had been in like week 1 and 2. So we'll see if Cooper can get back to that, but still having him and Quay Walker in the middle, really shutting down the running game. Another under 100-yard game for the Packers defense on the ground. The Cardinals couldn't get that much going. Some good drives here and there with the run game, but Packers stuffed them pretty much. So look for the Packers defense to do that. Obviously, getting Devontae Wyatt back this week could be really big. I think he might be back. And then Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks in the middle have been playing really well. Nazir Stackhouse had a big stuff last week as well, maybe upgraded his PFF. He was like the lowest graded defensive lineman in the NFL, I think, or like the second lowest after the first few weeks. So hopefully he can start stepping it up as well. We need his big body. He's 6'4", over 300 pounds. So getting Stackhouse kind of a little bit in a better position to make plays could be a good thing for the Packers defense against this Steelers running game. And then obviously you got Isaiah McDuffie, the other linebacker. He's been playing well. Haven't heard his name a lot. Not a lot of turnovers for this Packers defense. We forced one fumble. I know Keyshawn Nixon got over the top of Marvin Harrison on that pass catch, and he was a little bit early, so it was incomplete. So that would have been a forced fumble, but that would have been only the first forced fumble. And then we got the first forced fumble when Rashawn Gary strip sacked Jacoby Brissett. But no, I mean, that's a strip sack. Obviously, that's great, but we haven't had like a fumble where the running back's running and he gets it punched out, or a receiver running with the ball gets it punched out like Nixon almost had. But obviously, getting a turnover is great. It's the first forced fumble on the season. That was, week 7, so looking for more of those. Rodgers will hold on to the ball and try to sling it downfield, so you might be able to get one from him. So I look for Parsons to do that. And then, on the back end, Xavier McKinney playing really well. They said that they haven't tried any deep balls on him all season, which is kind of a crazy stat if you think about it. And then Evan Williams playing really well. He's a guy that continues to make plays. He's the one that came up with the fumble recovery on the Rashawn Gary forced fumble. A guy that on the play before that, I think he had a penalty that was kind of iffy. And then the next play, he gets the fumble recovery. So really made up for it. So I like what I see out of Evan Williams. And then Javon Bullard on the back end, also a guy that just is a dog. And so I look for him to continue to make plays. I just want to see some more forced fumbles and interceptions. I just don't understand why this Packers defense has not been accumulating those turnovers like they were last year. Maybe they'll start coming in bunches. Maybe we'll get after Aaron Rodgers and we'll get a few, but he's a guy that also doesn't throw a lot of picks. So if we can get one on Aaron, that'll be big. And so for the Packers defense, it'll come down to, can we get pass rush on Aaron Rodgers, a guy that obviously we know well, and can we shut down DK Metcalf and some of the tight ends of the Steelers, because that's really their, the main way the offense functions, run the ball, use these tight end sets, and then get the ball to DK Metcalf and let him do his thing. So it'll be interesting to see how the Packers defense fares. This is a big test, obviously, in Pittsburgh, second road game in a row, going down to play the Steelers after playing the Cardinals in Arizona with all the issues with the airplane and everything, and now we got to go to Pittsburgh. Won't be any more plane malfunctions, I'm guessing, going to Pittsburgh, but to win 2 games on the road back-to-back in this league, especially a primetime game to end it, especially coming off a game that, you didn't play your best and you ended up getting a win. So we'll see if we can carry this momentum. Week 8, getting almost halfway through the season here. Next week will be getting the halfway point. So Packers, number 1 seed right now, control their own destiny, really. Obviously, we're probably not going to win all the way out, but Packers are in a really good position right now to kind of keep building on this season. And if we can get a win against the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, that would be huge for the momentum and everything. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers wants to beat the Packers. He'd be one of only few quarterbacks that have beat every single team in the NFL. And, he's going to come to play, obviously, and it's going to be a big test for this Packers defense. But for the Packers offense, going up against the Steelers defense, that is really, really good. the last few years they've been pretty much excellent to elite. This year they've been a little bit like Swiss cheese. There's been some holes here and there in the run game and in the pass game, which has led to Aaron Rodgers really having to sling it, and he's been doing a good job doing that. But obviously not a lot of super close games in the AFC North with all the quarterbacks being hurt, but the Steelers have had some battles, and this defense has come up big at times because they still have TJ Watt coming off the edge, obviously a guy that can wreck the game. And then I did mention him before, Alex Highsmith. He's a linebacker on the other side. He's a really good linebacker coming off the edge. Also, Patrick Queen, he's an inside linebacker for the Steelers. He's a guy that can get sideline to sideline. He's really, really good. They still have Cameron Hayward on the defensive line on the edge also. So just a lot of players that the Steelers have that really make this defense good. And then we'll get to the back end of this defense, which is really, really talented. But Jalen Ramsey got burned, like completely burned by T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Obviously, everybody has their off games. And obviously, the Bengals receivers are really, really good. But they were playing with Joe Flacco, who had just got there, and Ramsey got beat like consistently. So, but for the Steelers, the defense, really is going to have a big test on their hands against Jordan Love and this Packers offense, stopping Josh Jacobs. But then, like I said, on the back end, they have Jalen Ramsey at corner. They have Joey Porter Jr. at corner. They have Darius Slay at corner, a guy the Packers fans know well. He played with the Eagles and with the Lions, so a guy Packers fans know. And then Thornhill also back there. Deshaun Elliott at the other safety. And so a pretty good defense for the Steelers. Obviously, like I said, there's some holes. Cole Holcomb is one of the linebackers. And like I said, Highsmith is the other linebacker. So pretty solid defense for the Packers to go up against. I'm looking for this offensive line to continue to stonewall anybody coming. They really did a good job against the Cardinals. I think Zaven Collins or whatever his name is got one sack, and that was it for the game for the Packers on the offensive side. So Rasheed Walker playing great at left tackle. Left guard obviously has been kind of an injury-prone season for Aaron Banks, but when he's in there, he's playing really well. Elkin Jenkins is a beast at center. And then the Packers have been kind of going with Sean Ryan, Jordan Morgan back and forth at right guard. But Jordan Morgan has been playing really, really good. I've always kind of been pushing Sean Ryan because of his run blocking skills, but Jordan Morgan's been great in both the run and the pass. And then at right tackle, Zach Tom should be good to go, should be in there. He's got banged up a little bit again, I think, against the Cardinals, but I think he's good to go. So I'm looking for him to be out there. If not, I don't know if Anthony Belton's back, but we do have Denard Killard, Denard Killard, I think that's his name. So, or Dillard, Kennard Dillard, that's it. So, anyway, so we do have offensive line pieces we can plug in, but last week our offensive line was pretty healthy. This week I'm looking for them to be pretty healthy again. Obviously, Tucker Kraft at tight end, Luke Musgraves, John Fitzpatrick, caught a pass last week. And, he's a guy that can catch and is good in the block game. So, but it's going to come down to Jordan Love and what he can do with these Packers receivers. Can we run the ball with Josh Jacobs against this stout Pittsburgh defense? It's going to be a tough one. Josh Jacobs was sick 2 weeks ago. This week he was kind of still sick and dealing with the quad injury. I think it was a quad. And then now, he still had 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games each. So 6 touchdowns over the last 3 games. And now going up against the Steelers defense, that is tough. But I think if the Packers can run the ball, Josh Jacobs can get going. Maybe get Emmanuel Wilson going again. I know Chris Brooks comes in for certain downs, but they haven't given him the ball or a lot of opportunities to carry the ball or catch the ball. But I think Emmanuel Wilson, he started getting something going a few weeks ago against Dallas. I think we should get him going again. Try to give Josh Jacobs a little bit of a break, especially if he's still dealing with the injuries and everything. But running the ball against this Pittsburgh defense to open up the pass game is going to be huge. I always say it, play action fake to open the pass up is what you got to do. So Jordan Love, no mistakes, no silly errors. Don't take any big hits you don't need to. Don't get strip sacked by TJ Watt. Like all the things that the coach should be telling them. And look for your receivers. You should have Christian Watson back. He's a guy that's 6'4", runs 4.3, and he's a guy that Love has been playing with for a while now, coming back from his injury last year. I think it was his ACL. So yeah, tore everything up. It's been about 9 months. He should be back this week in maybe a limited role. Maybe they'll have him on a snap count, not a pitch count, but a snap count. See what they do with that. Maybe, get him the ball here and there and we'll see what he can do. But I think this will be kind of the introductory week, and then they'll really unleash him the following week. But exciting to get Christian Watson back. Jaden Reed should be coming back a little bit before Thanksgiving. And then obviously Romeo Doubs playing really well. Get him the ball. Dontavian Wicks, I want him to get going again. He's a guy that was compared to Devontae Adams as a guy that could be a wide receiver 1, but just hasn't really progressed. And I don't know if it's just that he's getting covered. He used to have a really good separation rate a few years ago or last year. And so I'm just wondering what's going on with Wicks. Only 1 catch for 5 yards last week. Obviously bringing in Golden, he's getting some of those targets. But now if you bring Reed back and you bring Watson in, it's going to be wild, like who's getting targets, who's getting the grabs, who's getting the touches. And I really like what I see out of Matthew Golden. Obviously, he's been progressing each week. Backed up a little bit last week, only 3 grabs compared to the last 2 weeks he had been progressing. But the time, the plays, the catches he's making are really, really big in the time periods. And Jordan Love's going to him on the critical downs, 3rd down, and in the important spots. Obviously, the 4th and 2 went to Tucker Kraft, but I'd probably go to Tucker Kraft in that big spot too. So for the Packers, though, on offense, can we keep this momentum going? Scored 27 points in all 4 of our wins. That's pretty unique. It was like, 27-13 against the Lions, 27-18 against the Commanders, and then I can't remember, 27-23 against the Cardinals, and then it was like 18 again against the, who did we beat last, the Bengals? Yeah, something like that. So I can't recall. But either way, we scored 27. That part I know. So can the Packers score more than 27? I think they're going to have to. I think the Packers score 30 against the Steelers, and the Steelers score 27. That's my prediction, 30-27. Packers win this one. It is going to be a difficult test. Obviously, this defense struggling here and there. They struggled with Brissett a little bit, giving up some big plays in the pass game, some plays in the run game. So cleaning up a lot of those big plays in the pass game. I mean, some of those throws and catches, the guys were just a second late, so that should be things that they should be able to fix. But if you let Aaron Rodgers get comfortable and start slinging it, obviously, as all Packer fans know, he can burn you, and it's going to be up to Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, and those guys in the middle on the defensive line to kind of get some push and get after Aaron Rodgers and really make it a long night for him. And hopefully get this win. Getting to 5-1-1 would be great for Green Bay. They've had a tough part of the season. They haven't really even got to the games where they play the Vikings, they play the Bears. All that happens in the second part of the season, or the second half of the season, and then they play the Lions again. So in the last 9 games or 9 weeks, they've got 5 division games, which is a lot. So for the Packers, getting a win here on the road against the Steelers is going to be big. Obviously, we all want to beat Aaron Rodgers. We all want Micah Parsons to sack Aaron Rodgers. Let Gary get him too. And hopefully we can pick him off. Hopefully X can get an interception. I know Rodgers, I don't think he was here when Xavier McKinney was here. I don't know if he was here when Josh Jacobs was here. There's a lot of guys that weren't here when Rodgers was here. We traded Kenny Clark. Obviously, Jordan Love was, and he played with him. But there's not, Christian Watson, Doubs were rookies, I think, that year. That's the one where Christian Watson dropped the ball on that deep bomb against the Vikings, the first play of the season. Rodgers went to him and then didn't throw it to him again for 4 weeks or whatever. So, and then he had the 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys. But so those guys did play together. A few guys, obviously, Elkin Jenkins on the offensive line played with Aaron Rodgers. But a lot of these guys have not. A lot of these guys just know him as the guy that was here, the guy that went to the Jets and tore his Achilles, and the guy that's the quarterback for the Steelers now. Matthew LaFleur was trying to downplay the game, saying we are playing the Steelers, and the quarterback just so happens to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is looking at this as a game that he has to win. Obviously, the Packers, traded him 3 years ago, saying he was too old, going on to the young guy, Jordan Love, kind of like what the Packers did from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers himself. And then, so kind of full circle. Rodgers did lose to Brett Favre when they played back in 2009, like I was saying. And so hopefully Jordan Love can beat Aaron Rodgers this time. I really look forward to seeing that. We'll see if Brandon McManus gets back this week, kicking the ball. Daniel Whalen punting the ball great. I'd like to see some more in the return game, kickoffs and punts, but we'll see what happens there. Savion Williams, I really like back there. I got that 6'4" and can run, so we just got to get something set up where he can get a crease and try to get home. And then, obviously, if McManus can't go, Lucas Haversick has been kicking great, hasn't missed a kick as a Packer, kicked a 61-yarder, broke the record. Mason Crosby was wondering what to do with his old record ball. So, very exciting. I'm super stoked for this game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This Packers team could be special this year. We got to start cleaning some of the things up on defense, be a little bit more crisp on offense, probably score a little bit more points at times just because you can't be so close to teams like the Cardinals and the Bengals, teams that really shouldn't even be close to us right now. But it's the NFL. Every week's going to be tough, and this week is not going to be any different. Packers, Steelers, very exciting. The Packers haven't won in Pittsburgh since Bart Starr was quarterback. So something to change this year with Jordan Love. Go Pack, go. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Go Pack.